biggest figures in the world of Big Ten athletics is announcing he is done. Barry Alvarez will retire after 32 years at Wisconsin, first as the head football coach and then as the athletic director. The 74-year-old is staying on for a handful more weeks. He will retire on June 30th. And what an absolutely amazing legacy he had. I'm Mike Hall in our studios in Chicago. We will take you out to Madison. You will hear from Barry Alvarez. There's a special presentation that the University of Wisconsin has for him. He's going to join me for a one-on-one chat as we look back at the incredible run he has had in Madison. Remember, when he came there originally as a football coach, their entire athletic department was, to say the least, not great, Bob. And they have done incredible stuff ever since then. 32 years total as the head coach and the AD. In just a few years, he not only won a Big Ten title, but went to and won a Rose Bowl game, his first of 3. As the AD, he won 73 titles and much more. Here's Matt Lepay. Let's go out to Madison and listen in.
Good afternoon. On behalf of Chancellor Blank and Governor Evers, we welcome you to this very special event, as today we have the opportunity to celebrate the amazing career of Barry Alvarez. To those in attendance, which includes some guys who played for Coach Alvarez, and to all of those watching, we thank you for joining us here today. In a few minutes, we will hear from the Chancellor and the Governor, and of course we will hear from and have a conversation with Coach Alvarez. We want this to be a fun event because this is a day of celebration. Because let's face it, through the last 3+ decades, so much of what we have seen has given Badger fans memories to last a lifetime. Now, I'll be honest with you, it's pretty difficult to summarize more than 30 years worth of history into a 6-minute video. But thanks to Chris Hall and his great group from Video Services, they dug deep into the archives. And we hope you enjoy what you're about to see. For those of us who've been around here long enough to remember, it's never a bad idea to, every now and then, just stop and take a look around. It sure is a beautiful home, and a lot different from what it looked like back in 1990.
It's Big Ten football. The Michigan State Spartans against the Wisconsin Badgers.
By the end of the 1980s, Wisconsin football was, shall we say, in a bad way. It's important to note there were some really good players, Don Davey and Troy Vincent to name a couple, plus a former quarterback and tight end who's gone on to carve his own successful path. To be sure, there were other talented players who did what they could, but overall, there weren't enough of them. As a result, attendance was alarmingly low, and morale was even worse. A major change was needed.
Florida, there you see the Badger sidelines as they watch the time tick down for the remainder of the season.
So along came Barry Alvarez, the hot assistant coach from Notre Dame. At Wisconsin, he saw a chance to build something special. Yeah, he blew into town feeling pretty good about himself, and in his introductory news conference, he let it be known he was going to raise the bar.
We're going to build it from the foundation. Don't know how long it'll take. They better get season tickets right now because before long, they probably won't be able to.
Right away, he went about the business of changing the culture. Signs that said football-related business only. In team meetings, players would sit up straight with their eyes to the front of the room, and they would work. Up-tempo practices with high-octane coaches. Barry wanted to find out who truly wanted to play and who actually had a chance to contribute. It seemed as though that first year nearly killed him. The man wasn't used to losing, but that team went 1-10. I remember after a loss at Northwestern during a post-game interview in the coach's locker room, he just whipped his cap across the room. The following year, the Badgers won a Big Ten road game for the first time in 5 seasons. In 1992, they raised the bar a bit more with an electrifying win against Ohio State, getting the better of a quarterback who has since become a familiar face to college football fans, not to mention a pretty good friend of Barry's. The next year, that line about getting your season tickets, he wasn't wrong. When he arrived, fans would plead, Barry, we love the band, but we'd like to see a good football team too. They did, in Pasadena, on a magical New Year's Day in 1994, when the unthinkable happened. The way people thought and talked about the Badgers changed that day, a newfound respect that has blossomed into an admiration for Wisconsin's sustained excellence. Barry just loved the big games, especially the big home games, when we jumped around, when we saw them win another title, and when we watched a Heisman Trophy winner who outran them all. There was Shaber to Evans, the quarterback draw, and all those goalposts that got chopped down. Oh yeah, those back-to-back Rose Bowl championship teams in '99 and 2000, the Badgers remain the only Big Ten school to pull it off, ever.
I've decided to announce today that I'll step down as the head football coach at the University of Wisconsin at the conclusion of the 2005 season.
Then when it came time to hang up the whistle, he proved he could run not just a winning football program, but a remarkably successful athletic department. He's been a priceless resource for coaches. Who better to understand the day-to-day challenges than someone who's been there, done that, and someone who could even step in if that's what the situation called for. And Badger teams keep on winning. Conference titles, national crowns. No longer the little engine that could. The Wisconsin Badgers are a national power, synonymous with excellence, both on and off the field. He often says it's hard to win, but his teams have won a ton. And among the traits that separates Barry from so many is his ability to enjoy every victory, especially the ones no one thought were possible. In the past 30-plus years, the literal landscape has changed. Success made it possible to build facilities to keep the Badgers competitive across the board. The Kohl Center, University Ridge, Goodman Diamond, Laban Arena, the Porter Boathouse, and the centerpiece of it all, Camp Randall Stadium, continues to get better with age. An historic building brought into a new era. Go ahead, take a look around. Remember how it was back then, and appreciate how it feels now. It takes a team, but a team needs a strong leader. And for more than 30 glorious years, one of the strongest to ever do it, called the University of Wisconsin home. On behalf of Badger fans across the world, thank you, Barry. You have made us proud.
It's been a great ride. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage a Hall of Famer in every way, Athletic Director Barry Alvarez. Well, clearly in the last year, we've all been challenged in ways we could have never imagined. For our first speaker, those challenges include trying to navigate a major university through an academic year unlike any other, all while working with other Big Ten presidents and chancellors, athletic directors, and many others to make it possible for student athletes to pursue their passion and chase their dreams. Please welcome University of Wisconsin-Madison Chancellor Rebecca Blank.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here today to celebrate a Badger legend. It is hard to imagine Badger sports without Barry Alvarez. Coach Alvarez has been a program builder and a transformative figure in UW athletics. He created a powerhouse football team and then went on as AD to lead our entire athletic program to new heights. We've all reveled in the Rose Bowls, the Final Fours, the hockey titles, but we also love to see the successes in swimming, volleyball, rowing, softball, cross country, and so many other sports. You all know about Barry's success as a football coach, but what's always intrigued me is the transition from the playing field to leading the entire program and navigating the very complex world of college athletics. One of the reasons that I believe Barry has been so successful as AD is that he put the success of our student athletes always first, ensuring they were healthy and striving in the classroom and off the field. He also ensured that we had the facilities to train and compete and oversee the creations of things like Laban Arena, Porter Boathouse, the Bennett Student Athlete Performance Center, renovations to the field house, and plans for new updates to Camp Randall and the Kohl Center. Barry's been a champion of the Big Ten Network that helped provide greater visibility and increased revenue for the entire conference. And all Badger sports fans have always been proud of the fact that we do things the Wisconsin way, a way that makes us proud on and off the field. More than 3,500 academic all Big Ten honors have been earned by Wisconsin student athletes, along with tens of thousands of hours of community service through the Badgers Give Back program. Barry's mantra is to hire extremely capable and qualified people and then just get out of the way, a management model that I completely agree with. Above all, Barry has shown that he believes in the state of Wisconsin. As a coach, he made sure to recruit and keep the state's best football talent here at UW. And he demonstrated that this talent could take the program to new heights. He's shown a remarkable ability to attract and develop talented coaches who have deep connections to our university, city, and state. In short, Barry is going to be hard to replace. And I'll have more to tell you tomorrow about the process that we will follow as we begin a national search. In the end, Barry had fun, and he made college athletics fun for all the rest of us. He embraced the joy in all of the sports we play, encouraged us to do the same. So I speak not just for myself, but for my predecessors, as well as Badger fans everywhere, in thanking Barry for his hard work, devotion to Wisconsin, and the standard of excellence he has set for our athletic program. His work here has positively impacted the lives of countless student athletes who have come through our doors. Barry, your leadership has lifted our university and our state, and your legacy will live on whenever Badgers take the field. Now, it's a sign of Barry's impact that lots of people wanted to be here today. Governor Evers is here. He'll speak next. President of the Board of Regents, Drew Peterson, is here. And I believe that my predecessor, Chancellor Emeritus John Wiley, is also in the audience. And thanks to all of you for coming. So congratulations and best wishes to Barry. We wish you the best as you move on to your next set of adventures. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chancellor. Our next speaker is a proud alum of the University of Wisconsin and a very loyal Badger fan. Matter of fact, we were just talking Badger sports right before this program started. He's also an educator who fully understands the importance of young men and women who can develop academically and socially, as well as what they do in their chosen sport. It's my honor to introduce to you the governor of the great state of Wisconsin, Tony Evers.
Thanks so much, Matt. And yes, we were talking about Badger sports just before I came out today. And just as an aside, I was opining that Wisconsin must have a better team than Gonzaga, considering the loss margin there. So thank you, Badgers, for coming in second there. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today to celebrate a man whose name is synonymous with Wisconsin athletics. For 32 years, Director Alvarez has led our Badgers to victory on the football field as Wisconsin's all-time winningest coach, leading the way to 3 Big Ten titles and 3 Rose Bowl wins. On the basketball court, obviously, volleyball court, hockey rink, country course, you name it. He's seen 73 conference championships, 25 national champions, and 16 national championship teams as director. And off the field and courts, he has led the department with a stable hand through thick and thin for 17 years, and this past year has been no different. In fact, it has been much more complex than others. It has brought the department, the university, and our students and our state unpredictable challenges. Throughout all that time, Director Alvarez has brought immense achievement to the department, not only with winning records, but building a department that is respected and revered all across the United States of America. So you think about that. Our Badger teams are a great source of pride for our state, as the Chancellor talked about. We wear our Badger red with honor, and no matter where you go, from Superior in the north to Beloit in the south, or even another state or another part of the world, you will find ardent and enthusiastic Badger fans. And that's due in great part to Director Alvarez's remarkable leadership to transform the program over the last 2 decades and build a legendary brand. The university will have very big shoes to fill in your absence. So with that, I wish you all the best, Barry, on your well-deserved retirement. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin and our citizens, congratulations on a great career. Thank you so much. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Governor. What he says is right about the number of conference championships, the national championships, what the Chancellor mentioned about 3,500 student athletes who have earned academic all-conference recognition. It goes so far beyond the winning, the trophies, the massive collection of trophies. It's the thousands of hours that student athletes have devoted to helping those in the community in need as part of the Badgers Give Back program. These are all things that Coach Alvarez has taken very, very seriously. There's so many ways you can describe these 3+ decades, but I think yesterday, when one of Barry's former players, Ross Kalaji, a defensive lineman and part of those back-to-back Rose Bowl championship teams, is now a defensive line coach for the Badgers. And yesterday, when he met with reporters and was asked about Barry, Ross kept it very simple, and he was spot on. He said, Barry put the W on the map. Did he ever? Please welcome Athletic Director Barry Alvarez.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Matt. Thank you, Governor, for those kind words, and Chancellor for your kind remarks. I grew up in a small mining town in western Pennsylvania, and most of the men in my town worked in steel mills. I worked in my uncle's store in the summer and weekends and after school, and I remember seeing them coming to work in the morning to catch a bus, carrying a lunch pail. They'd stop in and buy a Twinkie or a Hostess cupcake for their lunch. I'd see them come back at night, later in the afternoon, tired, dirty, dragging home, and I made a note to myself, I'm not going to work in the steel mill. I used athletics as a vehicle to do what I love to do. And as young people ask me, and as I told my players, find something that you love to do it well enough that someone will pay you to do it, and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's what I believe that I've been able to do. I love going to work. I love going to the office. It was never a chore for me to get there. I enjoyed every minute of it. I modeled a lot of what I've done after my college coach at Nebraska, Bob Devaney. He enjoyed a successful career in football, and then after his career in football, became the athletic director and built something that lasted in Nebraska. And I hope that I've helped build something that will last here in Wisconsin. Retirement brings mixed emotions. But I decided to have a little fun today and share some stories as I thank so many people. I have to start with thanking Pat Richter for having confidence in me and hiring an assistant coach, bringing me to Madison. Pat was recruited by Donna Shalala, who made a huge impact on the athletic program, had the vision of saying, why can't we have a world-class athletic program as we do a world-class academic institution? And she meant it. She put a lot of work into it. I think she wanted to win as much as I wanted to win. She was here every weekend. We brought in recruits. And the story that I love to tell about her best is the summer, as we were finishing up summer, or my kids were finishing up school, Don asked, when are Cindy and the kids coming to town? And I said, well, I'm finishing a home. I've got a month left before our home is built. They'll come as soon as they finish school. She said, well, where will you live? I said, I've got an apartment. They'll stay with me in the apartment. She said, I'm going on vacation. Why don't you and Cindy and the kids stay at the Olin house? I'll be gone for a month. By that time, your house is built. I said, that's great. Well, we were there a week, and phone rings, and it's Donna. Wherever she was, they had issues. She was coming home. I said, okay. She said, but you don't have to leave. You could stay here. So we did. We had breakfast every morning. We visited. That first week that she was there, I had my first Big Ten football meetings. Jim Delaney wanted something passed. He wanted us to go back and speak with our chancellors or presidents because they were going to have a vote on an issue. And as he started around the room, I can remember Hayden Fry stomping, and he was having issues with his president. It seemed as though every head coach had some type of issue with their president. It came to me, and I said, hell, I live with mine. I'll see her tomorrow morning at breakfast. We won't have any problems. And John Wiley, first time I met John Wiley, John was the dean of the grad school. And what I did my first year, I assigned every one of my assistant coaches a dean. I wanted to find out about the school. I wanted us to go and sell our program to the rest of the university. I wanted to know about each college, so as we recruited, we could sell it. The assistants would come back and report on it. I wanted them to take them to lunch. I paid for the lunch. So Kevin Cosgrove was assigned to John. He comes back after 3 times. John gives him an excuse, another excuse, another excuse. Finally, on his 4th call, John says, listen, Kevin, I don't have anything against you. I really don't know anything about football, don't care about athletics. I'm not going to lunch with you. Kevin says, no, you don't understand. I've been ordered to have lunch with you, and I'm going to have lunch with you. So they did. A few years later, John is the chancellor. He says to me, you know what you were trying to do a few years ago? That's what I'm trying to do now on campus, and I appreciated what you did. And then he gave me the opportunity to become the athletic director, and I appreciated that, John. So proud and thankful to all the coaches, the assistant coaches I had as a head football coach, and I'll tell you, the guys that I brought in could recruit, and they could get after it in coaching. If you think about it, I came in after the January 1st, after the Orange Bowl. We had a month to recruit, and Dan McCarney, Bernie Wyatt, Kevin Cosgrove, then the next year Brad Childress and John Palermo. I mean, those guys could flat recruit and coach, because those 2 years were the nucleus of that first Rose Bowl. And the first year we had a month, and the majority of those guys ended up being outstanding players and starting on that Rose Bowl. I'll forever be indebted to those coaches. My current administration is outstanding. The employees in this athletic department are so loyal and dedicated and take such pride in the job that they do, and each person within this department can look at one another and say, I can count on that person doing their job. Really proud of the coaches that we have here at Wisconsin, the coaches that we've had in the past. They've always cared about the student athlete first. All the ones that I've hired, I made that perfectly clear and wanted to hear in the interview them talking about the kids and whether they care about the student athletes and how they're going to support them. I've had two wonderful assistants throughout my tenure. Lisa Powell was with me 16 years in football. It's her birthday today, by the way. Happy birthday, Lisa. And Linda Wilkins has been with me as long as I've been the director. Now, these two ladies have been known to be able to think on their feet. You can think of some of the phone calls that they get throughout the year after a tough loss, or somebody didn't get parking where they wanted, or their seats weren't in the right spot. But as I've told them before, these girls, they both went to handling school. They could handle any situation and have, and I want to thank them. To my former players, so proud of you and proud of what you did, how you bought into the program. Nothing makes me more proud than to get a call or get a letter from a former player that tells me he still uses some of the things, some of the lessons and values that he learned in football to this day, whether it be in his job or raising his family. Joe Panos just called me the other day and mentioned that. Chris Godorsey, a while back, introduced me at a bankers convention in Wausau. He talked about me. It was so touching. I started crying. I had to gather myself before I gave my speech, because it meant that much to me. And it happens frequently, and I just want to thank those guys, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about for me, is being about the athletes, the student athletes, and how we can help them. To our current student athletes, any chance that I get, I thank them for how they represent us on and off the field, courts, etc. They make all of us, all of our alums, proud of how you respond. And probably the best compliment that I've had regarding our student athletes is from the late Joe Paterno. Regardless of what happened to Joe in the end, I had great respect for Joe. And I can remember him grabbing me at the kickoff luncheon in Chicago and saying, "Barry, I just want to tell you something. I watch your teams. I watch how they compete. They compete hard. They really represent you well. They are very proud of that W that they wear on their uniforms." And for another coach, a coach of that magnitude, to make that type of statement spoke volumes to our athletes, but really made me feel proud. To our fans, our alumni, our donors, I can't thank you enough for the tremendous support. I have to tell you, it doesn't make any difference where I go. I have to hear every Rose Bowl story of every alum that I meet. And you know what? That's okay. I enjoy every one of them myself. I've had some great friends in my 31 years here, and a couple of them are in the audience tonight, Ted Kellner and Tony Cannoni. We've got an ongoing traveling golf game. They're the Wisconsin team. My former teammate in Nebraska, Rick Coleman, lives in Austin, Texas, and I are the Nebraska team. We have played for the last 25 years. We've played all over, have a traveling trophy. We all stink. And we torture each other for 18 holes. But there's no one I'd rather play golf with or spend time with than these guys. They've been unbelievable friends, and I appreciate their loyalty and support throughout the years. My family, my children, Dawn, Stacy, and Chad, they've been troopers. They've been supportive, regardless of where I coached, how we've done. they've been tremendous supporters. My grandchildren, I have two that are here now. My granddaughter Grace is doing very well, fighting through her freshman year. Very proud of Grace. Really proud of my two grandsons who played here. And I can't tell you how awesome it has been to watch my grandsons play in Camp Randall and represent the University of Wisconsin. My oldest grandson, Joe, was reluctant to come here because he didn't want anyone to he didn't want anyone to know I was his grandfather. He just did not want to think he was going to be treated any differently. So the one year, as the seniors asked me to coach in the bowl game, I said I'd let them know in the morning. The reason why, I wanted to make sure it was okay with Joe. He was on the team. So that night I'm driving home and I pick up the phone, I call him, I said, Joe, the seniors want me to coach in the bowl game. What do you think? He said, Grandpa, I think it'd be awesome. Besides that, we need a little swagger on the sideline. I said, I can give you swagger on the sideline. I don't know if I can coach worth a damn, but I can give you swagger on the sideline. But it was just a tremendous experience to have him in the locker room and at practice as you're preparing for the game. And Jake, it's been awesome watching him develop over the years. And my goal is, after this year, it won't be Barry Alvarez's grandson, Jake Ferguson. It'll be your Jake Ferguson's grandfather. That's what I want after this year. But I'm very proud of what they've accomplished, very proud of my grandchildren. And then Cindy. Cindy and I will celebrate our 53rd anniversary in about a week and a half. She's been unbelievable. Go ahead, give her anybody could put up with me for 53 years. If they had a Hall of Fame for coaches' wives or administrators' wives, she'd be a first ballot unanimous choice, without a doubt. She's one who never holds anything back, unfiltered, tells it like it is. And I can remember coming home, you'd be tired, or you're not tired, but you might have lost a tough game, or maybe 2 games in a row, and you're moping around, feeling sorry for yourself. And the first thing I'd hear is, hey, what about that talk you give to your players about dealing with adversity and being positive and upbeat? Okay, I got it. And just to get a prime example is my last game, my last season, we get selected to play in Orlando against a very, very good Auburn team. We're huge underdogs going into the game. So Cindy and I fly to Orlando for the press conference. And after the press conference, it went well. I spoke. Tommy Tupperville was their coach, I believe. He spoke. They were a very good team. I think they thought they should have played been in a national championship game that year. So as we're leaving the press conference, Cindy, she grabs my arm and she says, you really did a good job today. Great job today. Media loves you. Probably going to get your ass beat, but the media loves you. That's my Cindy, just trying to be honest. I've had a wonderful ride here at Wisconsin. The last 31 years have been filled with countless highs and a few lows. But growing up in that small town in Pennsylvania, I could have never have imagined the amount of joy and passion that I could have experienced from my career here. We've shared many laughs together and a lot of fun, enjoyed numerous accomplishments together, but most importantly, I've made relationships with people I'll call friends for the rest of my life. In short, my career at Wisconsin has been everything I could have asked for and more. Thank you, and on Wisconsin. And in closing, I'd like to announce that my retirement will take effect July 1st, but I am always available to come back out of retirement to coach in a bowl game. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. The always and forever will love the big games. And, of course, let the record show that the Badgers did win that game against Tommy Tuberville and the Auburn Tigers. Matter of fact, they took a knee when they could have won by 3 touchdowns, but 2 touchdowns was good enough that day, and it was a great day, as we have had so many of those great days these last 30-plus years. As we move forward in the coming days and weeks, no doubt many players, fellow coaches, and others will have great stories to tell and thank you messages to send. We thought we'd get it started today as we hear from a couple of individuals I think you will easily recognize.
Congratulations, Barry, on your retirement. It's well-deserved and a long time coming because you started this journey over 30 years ago. I remember the first year when we brought you in and made the prophetic statement about buying season tickets. I'm not sure where you picked that one up, but it certainly stuck for a long time. It was true. That's great. We were starting off that first year when we started the marketing promotion of a whole new animal. I don't know if I ever told you this, but after that 1-10 season, I got a little note saying, well, it kind of looks like the same old animal, but those of us that watched closely knew it was something was different. Now we come back, 93 Rose Bowl season, and then moving into the 94 Rose Bowl, and the victory of the Rose Bowl, first time Wisconsin had ever won the Rose Bowl, and that was very special. I know a lot of farm players came up after the game and really were just so pleased and gratified that we won the game finally and got that monkey off our back for losing all those Rose Bowls. But after the 94 victory, went on for 2 more victories, and that was something special. Never been done before in the history of the Rose Bowl, and certainly consecutive victories was really special. Every time you went to the Rose Bowl, you kind of believed that you owned it. All in all, there's a lot of great memories back there, too many to mention here today. But I want to thank you very much for your service to the athletic department, bringing back respectability to Wisconsin football and making everybody proud of the athletic department at Wisconsin. It's one of the best in the nation. Wish you best of luck. Congratulations. Enjoy your retirement.
When I was Chancellor of UW, I used to say that building a world-class athletic program was not much different from building a world-class biochemistry department. In fact, it took first-class leadership and ability to recruit and sustain wonderful personnel, but more importantly, a passion for excellence. That's what Barry Alvarez brought to Wisconsin. That's what he built, a world-class program, a program of great excellence, but it had a lot to do with his personality. He was hungry, but he was hungry for excellence. So congratulations, Barry. I can't think of anyone I so enjoyed working with over the years. My best wishes to you and Cindy as you go on to your next adventure. For all of us who love Wisconsin and love Wisconsin athletics, we all say thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Donna. Come a long way from your first year, Coach. We're trying to do a radio call-in show and nobody was calling. Seemed like yesterday or no?
I love to tell that story because right now people don't believe it, but you know, when you've won one game the entire year, you have a call-in, there's not much interest out there. No one has anything they want to know. So Matt and I had to fill an hour show. So I mentioned it to some of my coaches. I'd leave the office. They'd be preparing for the next game. Next thing you know, there's a call from Dan from someplace, and it was my assistant coaches going right up the aisle. Hey, Coach Alvarez, you're doing a great job, man. Keep it up. We love what you're doing, Coach. Then the next guy'd call, So that's how Matt and I filled our hour for that first year in our call-in show.
And as you might imagine, we didn't have to do that after a few years. When you got here in 90, the famous line, better get your season tickets now because before long you might not be able to. What made you believe that it could work here at Wisconsin?
You know, I had recruited the Midwest. I recruited Wisconsin. Actually, the top 2 players in the state had committed to me to go to Notre Dame already. I knew the Big Ten. Every place I had been, whether it been a high school, University of Iowa had 17 straight losing seasons. I really used Hayden as a very good mentor. Bob Devaney had turned around the program at Nebraska. Lou had really, he inherited the program from Jerry Faust. They had lost a few years in a row. The year before I went to Notre Dame, they had a losing season. So I was mentored by people who knew how to win. I felt like I had a very good plan. I knew the issues in the state. I knew the things that I had to address. And I felt like I had a very good plan for success here. I knew I could put a good staff together, guys that I had worked with, guys that I had recruited and coached against. And so I just felt confidence. I had won every place I had been before. Why not here?
That first year in the video, we reflected back on your first season, but if I remember right, you saw something. You know, the record was what it was, but you saw something that gave you hope moving forward?
I tell you, when I really felt, by the way, we lost all those games, but the guys competed. And we were into every game until the fourth quarter. And I remember our last game, Michigan State was going to a bowl game. We've got one win. We're on the road. You're not playing for anything but pride. And yet our guys played their fannies off. And we drop a touchdown pass in the end zone, or we walk out of there with a win. And I remember thanking our seniors after the game, because our coaches, we still had the players. I knew we had the players. They were following our lead. We just weren't good enough. And I promised the seniors, you know what, we're going to go to the Rose Bowl. And when we do, I will buy each of you a watch. And I did. I followed up on that promise.
You did. And you mentioned in that news conference, you stated publicly you didn't know how long it would take, but it was year 4. Did you privately, were you a little ahead of schedule, or was that maybe what you thought?
I thought our third year, had we had those players prior, that same team, with the culture we had established, would have won 8 games instead of 5. They just didn't know how to win, how to close deals, because we were a pretty good team. You know, that was a ranked team in Ohio State that we beat. And that year we lost probably 3 or 4 games in the closing minutes, seconds. That should have been an 8-win team. So we were really close. I was disappointed that year, and then we fumble the last play, just before we kick a field goal to win the game, go to a bowl game in 92. So I knew in 93 was the year. I went through every position in camp with our players and talked about, we're as good as anybody in the league at every position. We're going to be a good team. But I didn't think we were ahead of schedule. I thought we should have done it the year before.
Well, I remember Joe Panos, after an early season win, he told reporters, why not Wisconsin? Why not indeed? A famous line. Tell us that feeling. People always come up to you with their Rose Bowl stories, but for Badger fans, they're all great. But the 94 Rose Bowl, the feeling, the look that you saw from your guys when they stepped onto the field.
Well, I stole the theme, Camp Randall West, and it came from my driver. They provide you a driver. My driver was the president of the UCLA student body the previous year. And a couple games, about midweek, he said, Coach, do you realize what's happening? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, your people were snapping up all the tickets. The UCLA people are not that loyal. They will dump the ticket. They'll scalp their tickets and buy a colored TV and watch the game at home. So you start thinking about that, and all of a sudden, Pasadena and LA red starts showing up, waves and waves. And I told players, we're going to take that field. It'll be like a home game. We were the home team. We were wearing red jerseys. I remember Terry Donahue. We had their locker room. Terry Donahue asked, that's our home locker room. We have our decorations in there. Why don't you just take the visitors' locker room? We'll keep. No. I said, no, you take the visitors' locker room. We're the home team. We'll take the home team locker room. So we moved them out of their home locker room. And that's the way we approached it. But when we took the field, it takes your breath away. First of all, it's such a pretty sight. I think it's the prettiest venue in all of sport. And then to see the thing full of red. UCLA has a card section. The card section was 80% red. They had scalped their tickets.
Yep.
So our players weren't overwhelmed. They felt like it was a home game.
All the great running backs you had. I know Ronnie is here today, but is the greatest run still Bevel's run in the Rose Bowl?
It was the longest run, time-wise.
It was. But he got there.
I think that's the only scramble he had his whole career. But it was the right time.
Yes, it was.
It was the right time. We appreciate it, Bev.
Barry, with the winning comes opportunity. It happens all the time, and you certainly have had your share of opportunities, both with other college programs as well as multiple NFL franchises. You could have moved on. Why did you stay? What kept you here?
First of all, some of those opportunities they're flattering. But Cindy and I set a goal early on that we wanted to go someplace. We wanted to establish roots. We did not want to be coaching vagabonds. We wanted to have a place that we could call home, build it, sustain it, a place where our kids could call home. So we'd always go back and talk about what our goals were, our original goals, and it always came back to that.
I'll throw a stat here. Since the championship season of 1993, Wisconsin football and men's basketball, those two programs have combined to appear in 49 bowl games and NCAA basketball tournaments. That is the most in the country. It's 3 more than Texas and Florida. When you arrived, you came here with a plan. You didn't come here to lose. But can you put that into some perspective, the ability to sustain it the way these programs have?
It's very difficult to do. You can look at the premier programs, colleges in the country, schools that have more wherewithal than we do because of population and access to athletes, finances, et cetera. Schools that have a history of good athletics. And you talk about the Oklahomas of the world, the Nebraskas of the world, Michigan, Ohio States, Penn States, UCLA, Southern Cal. They've all had dips along the way, and for us to sustain that speaks volumes of our culture, the people that we have here, the people that we hire, all those people that work within the department and take such pride in their jobs. It's a culture that permeates throughout our department, and our players feel that. And so I'm really proud of that. I'm as proud of that as anything we've accomplished, is how we've sustained success. And you saw in my first interview, we're going to build it with a good foundation so that it lasts.
We're sitting in a beautiful facility right now, the Kohl Center. There's LeBron Arena next door, home of the national champion, again, women's hockey team, the swimming facility. It's so many upgrades, Goodman Diamond across the board. It takes a lot of people to get that done. Coach, can you put in again your perspective of the importance of being able to get the facilities to where they are today to help these student athletes?
Yeah, that's one reason that I thank the fans. I thank our supporters, our donors, because for us to sustain this success, we had to continue to upgrade facilities. As you recruit, you bring high school athletes in, they have to see that there's a commitment for success, and there's a commitment for excellence. And they want to have a chance to be champions. But you want to go where people take pride in facilities and feel good about it. And we've been able to stay up with that. We slipped behind a little, and but then we caught back up, and our people take, and look at this building. If you told someone how old it was, it's like a brand new building, because our people that work here keep it this way. Yep. And again, they have pride in it. But you have to keep facilities up if you're going to stay at this level, the level that we are in.
The rest of us on the outside can only imagine or try to imagine the challenges of being an athletic director. What's the best part? What have you enjoyed the most about it?
I love to see our teams win. I love to win. I really do. I love to see our teams win championships. You see Mark and his hockey teams and the success, and he's built a dynasty, and to see them win and celebrate. I love to see teams celebrate. I love to see our coaches celebrate with the teams. I love to get letters from our fans talking about how proud they are of our athletes. That's what makes me feel good.
You're not done yet, and I'm certainly hoping you're not going to be a stranger when you step away on July 1st. But how do you want folks to remember your time here? What makes you the most proud?
I think that the fact that we were able to get football in the right place allowed us to do a lot of things. When you fill the stadium, that allows you to do other things facility-wise and give the other 22 sports a budget where they can be competitive. So it all started with the success in football. But just the rest of it, we've been able to be consistently good over a long period of time. But it all started with football. That makes me the most proud.
A couple more questions, and it's a little, just listening to your remarks, with your traveling golf group. If it's not you, but there's a 15-foot putt with it all on the line, who do you want taking it? Who do you want attempting that putt?
Ted Kellner. But the problem with that is he has Tony Cannoni shoot first. Tony's been known to hit a ball. All Ted wants is the read. Tony's ball may go across that hole about 3 inches high, above the ground. I mean, he spikes at everything. So that ball may be airborne as it goes across by the hole. And we start laughing and say, "Did you get that read, Ted?" You got that read, I'm sure.
Whatever it takes. And you mentioned Joe and you mentioned Jake. If someone were to walk into your booth where you've watched the games, who would be the worst person to try to talk to while Joe, when he was playing, or Jake now? Jake's mom, Jake's grandmother, or you?
I don't talk to anybody during the game. I want to watch the game, but I want to watch them. When Joe intercepted the ball and went 99 yards, I said his mother, during that run, I think Jimmy Leonard timed it. I think it was 14 seconds to go 99 yards. But I said his mother lost her voice screaming, and his grandmother pulled a hamstring on that interception. We have fun. We think Jake's open every play.
Best tight in America, right?
That's right, no question.
Father, you mentioned Coach Leonard, you got Coach Kalagi, so many guys. I mean, obviously so many have gone on and have been successful in life, but to see these guys come back, we see it with basketball, hockey, all across the board. It's got to be a cool feeling knowing that those who played here want to come back here and leave their legacy as coaches too.
You know what? They're proud of what they've accomplished here, and they should be. This is a great place. Every coach that ever has coached here with us and left comes back and says, "This is the best place that I've ever coached." And the players take great pride and know that they contributed to what we've accomplished here. So they're invested. That's why I love to hire former athletes to come back here, because they've invested here. And they'll pass that message on to the younger athletes, and we'll keep that tradition going.
Last one for you. In the video, we talked about it's never a bad idea to just stop and look around. I mean, again, it's another thing. I can only try to imagine what the last year has been like with what we're all living through right now. But have you, or maybe more importantly, can you, in the next few months, just stop and look at how the stadium is now, the Kohl Center? Just kind of take it in and be proud of what's happened.
I'll do that someday. I can't wait to walk into that stadium when it's full. I can't wait till our players, some of our freshmen, now to be 2 classes, have never played in front of a crowd. I can't wait till that place is buzzing again. This arena is buzzing again. That'll be so much fun to get back to normal. I can't wait. That will make me proud and happy again.
We look forward to that day. Coach, I know I speak for everybody. Congratulations and thank you. I know you've got a busy day ahead, many more interviews, but this is a celebration today, but we want this to last for a while. We'll continue to have fun. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
All right. We We thank you for being here today. Those watching, we appreciate you tuning in. For the media here at the Kohl Center, just a heads up that Coach Alvarez will have a news conference, and that'll begin in about 15 minutes from now. So thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
That was Matt Lepay, the voice of the Badgers, talking to Barry Alvarez. And as he was alluding to, in just a couple minutes, really, I'm going to be sitting down with Barry to have a chat with him, and I'll get some questions about his career as an AD and the great successes he had, the memories he has as well. We got some fun off the top for him, too. That's coming up right after this short break. Before we leave, however, we've already talked in this show a bit much about how he's changed the results in Wisconsin, but when he first got there, it was also a part of the fact that the look of Wisconsin changed.
Alvarez arrived with a plan for change and implemented it right down to the school logo.
I wanted to change something, so when the Motion W command, as soon as I saw it, it just jumped out at me. It didn't stray far from the block W. It was very unique. It caught your eye, and it would distinguish us from anyone else.
I have to tell you something that's going to be hard, but I just want to be honest with you. I don't think I can trust you. I have trust issues with you.
You keep retiring as a football coach, and you keep coming back. I don't know if I can believe you, Barry.
That's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to do.
I bet it was.
Yeah, and when the game's over, you go home. Or you go see your family. Don't have to worry about recruiting the next day.
Right. I mean, you're modern day Michael Jordan. You're retiring, you come back, you retire again, you come back.
Just keep bringing me out of mothballs. I don't think I'll do that anymore.
Yeah, but can we trust him? Barry Alvarez joins us now on the day he announces his retirement. I don't know, Barry. Should I believe you now?
The last thing I said in that press conference was I'm still available. I'm available for a bowl game at any time.
That door will always be open, right? You've been in Madison, this incredible career, 3+ decades there. Why retire now?
No, it was time, Mike. This is my kids have gone through college here. I've got my third grandchild here. It's time to pass the baton. I've had a great run. I was ready to retire in January, but with COVID, I just didn't think it was fair to put that burden on a new athletic director. So I just feel like this is the right time to do it.
How involved are you going to be in finding your replacement?
Well, we the Chancellor has a committee of good people, diverse people that all have a stake in the athletic department, led by Pete Miller, who's chair of our athletic board and a former athlete. He'll chair it. I've already met with Pete. I feel that as though they have a good plan. They'll visit with me on any questions or anything that they have, and I'm available for whatever they need.
From everything you've learned on the job about what's important and what isn't, what works and what doesn't at Wisconsin, what advice would you give to whomever the new AD becomes?
If it's not broken, don't fix it. We have great people here, good work ethic. Our people take great pride in their jobs. I have coaches that sincerely care about their student athletes. We have athletes that represent us very well on and off the court. Our culture here, we've built a very good culture here of doing things the right way, keeping our priorities with our student athletes being the top priority. Anybody that comes in is going to put their fingerprints on it. I understand that. But when something has gone and been as successful as we've been for the last 30 years, I don't know how much tweaking it needs. But that's up to the next person to decide. That's not my call. But I think we've got a very good culture here that's worth continuing.
Yeah, but how did you do that? This is, I guess, more of a head coach than an AD, but it did continue with your AD role to all the different sports. To have a winning culture, it doesn't just happen. And we all know what Wisconsin athletics were before you got there. How were you able to build that?
Well, it's the commitment from the top. Me being able to, as a football coach, tell my people, the assistant coaches, exactly what I want, what their responsibility is. Them being able to pass that message on to the student athletes. I'm losing you here, Mike. And being consistent with it. Make sure that it's carried out and that everybody follows through and takes care of their responsibility.
How did you change
I'm off here.
In your 18 years as an AD? That's all right. Some of my best interviews are when the person can't hear me. You got me
Mike,
back, Barry?
Go ahead.
There you go. I
can hear you. I'll hold it in my ear.
I was saying, how did you change over your span of 18 years as an AD?
How did I change over my span as an AD?
Yeah, how are you different now than you were in 04?
I'm not. I'm not any different. I know what I wanted. I hire really good people. I always try to hire people smarter than me, and that's easy to do. I give them the job. I explain exactly what I want. I let them do it. I do what I wanted my head coach to do when I was an assistant coach. Tell me what you want. Let me go about my job. Let me get it done. That's what I try to do with my people. I give them responsibility and let them work.
Looking back on your time as the AD, what decision or what moment makes you smile? The first one that comes to your mind.
As the AD?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what decision. It was really good to get Paul Christ back here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had Paul as a tight end coach. Then I brought him back as a coordinator. I helped him get the Pitt job. You know, I had a vacancy, and I didn't think it was right for him to leave Pitt after 9 months, but we were fortunate enough to have a vacancy after the second year and I felt then he was fair game that I could bring him back as the head football coach, and I felt really good about that.
You know, you've had this great career, which wasn't just at Wisconsin. You were on the College Football Playoff Committee, the first ones. So from a broad perspective, what excites you about where college athletics are going, and what concerns you about it?
Well, I'll start with concerns. I'm concerned about the direction. I'm concerned about where NIL is going. That you know, if that gets out of hand and goes into the recruitment of student athletes and turns into pay for play, you know, that's not healthy for our sport. I just think there are some things coming up with lawsuits and demands right now that are dangerous for the future of college athletics and obviously including football. You know, I think our coaches, I think our players, they're doing what they're supposed to do. I think the thing that really is good is we're finding more benefits for our student athletes, and I've always been in favor of that. I've encouraged that. Anything that we can do and continue to do to make our student athletes experience better, I'm in favor of. I'm in favor of NIL as long as it's controlled, but I feel good about that.
What excites you about retirement?
It's another chapter. It's finding out what's going to keep me busy now. I'll have some opportunities, and I still have another year of being a fan now. I'll be able to be a fan, go to games, watch my grandson play as a fan, and that excites me. I'll be able to spend more time with my grandkids. That excites me.
I was going to ask you, that next thing is, how often are folks still going to see you around Madison?
I'll be in Madison. I'll keep my residence here. I will slip away to Florida in the winter, but I'll spend spring, summer, and football season in Madison.
Yeah, I think you've earned that. Last one before you go, just to be clear, that statue outside Camp Brandel, you don't get to take that with you, right? That's not like going to your basement or anything?
No, I don't want that statue.
Barry, congratulations on the really incredible run you had as not just a Wisconsin, but a Big Ten legend, and enjoy retirement.
Thanks, Mike.
There he is, Barry Alvarez, done as the AD in Wisconsin in a handful of weeks. And you look back at his career just as a head coach again, 119 wins in the 16 years. He won 3 conference titles in 3 Rose Bowl games, was a 2-time Coach of the Year in this league, and an amazing bowl game record of 9-4. One of the reasons why he was so successful was the ability he had in terms of depth and talent and the walk-on program. Here he is talking about that a little while ago.
What I would do after we would offer our scholarships, we'd go out and look at the next level of players. We'd try to bring in 20 to 25, maybe 30 a year, and figure a handful of those, if they followed our program, would move into the 2 deep, and once they got into the 2 deep, we'd scholarship.
Over his 16 seasons as head coach, Dozens of walk-ons earned scholarships from Barry Alvarez, and several became team captains.
I saw his press conference, heard what he had to say, and said that no jobs are safe and it's going to be all open auditions, and I just saw something in him that made me want to play. So I transferred and walked on.
Joe Panos is probably the first walk-on with notoriety. Come to Wisconsin, you'll get a chance, take advantage of it, and you could be an All-American, you could be drafted in the NFL, you could be a captain of a Rose Bowl team, as in Panos' case.
Coming out of Nebraska and coaching at Iowa and coaching at Notre Dame, he probably could have gone anywhere he wanted to. He chose the University of Wisconsin. And I'm sure he had a chip on his shoulder when he chose Wisconsin, and he told the world, I'm going to change it. And that's what he did. The walk-on tradition here, I think, is indicative of how he changed it, giving guys a chance and believing in them.
One, two, three.
Yeah, he could celebrate after winning, too. You look at his term as athletic director, which is officially coming to a close. 16 teams won national titles. The football team made a bowl game, and the men's basketball team reached an NCAA tournament in 15 consecutive seasons. They won conference championships to the tune of 73 times, and 15 current varsity coaches hired by Alvarez. For more on Alvarez, he's meeting with the media right now. Let's listen in.
Was up in the front, one to the right, one right in front of me here. When the time comes, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Come up to that mic, and you can ask your questions of Coach. At the end of this session, you all have seen the trophies on display over to the left. We'll have a photographer go over and shoot some photos first of Barry, and then after that, we'll have we'll call you all up in shifts to come and do shoot photos as well. Lastly, once we're done with the photo shoot, we'll ask you to leave the building and certainly free to do stand-ups and so on outside of Gate A here at the Kohl Center or Camp Randall or elsewhere. So with that, we'll get started with question and answer. First up. Come on up, Jim.
Barry, can you kind of tell us why now? You've probably been thinking of this for a while. I'm just curious. Can you take us through the timing of this all?
Yeah, actually, Jim, I was set to do it this past January and visited with the Chancellor and didn't think at that particular time with COVID and the things we had to deal with, it would be fair to pass the baton to someone and put them in that position. So I told her I would try to get us through COVID. And I think that hopefully we're past the better part of it, and we're seeing some progress and moving forward. And I just think it's time. I'm 74 years old. I've had a good run. It's just time to pass the baton. I'm healthy. I have some things that I want to do. My wife and I want to travel. I have grandkids that I want to follow and support. So it was just time.
Steve McGargy, Associated Press. Just wondering, what made you realize, obviously you had a great career as a coach, but how were you able to kind of adjust to athletic administration, be the athletic director you were, and what gave you the confidence you could fill that role the way you have?
You know, again, I use my college football coach as a mentor and somebody that I had great respect for, and try to pattern my career after him, even from starting as a high school coach and working my way up through assistant to a head coaching job. I told Pat Richter when I interviewed for the job, he asked me to lay out my future, and it wasn't. I had no specific school that was a dream job. I wanted to go someplace like my coach did at Nebraska, build it, sustain it, take over as athletic director, and continue to sustain it. So that was always my ultimate plan. I moved into administration. Pat made me a senior staff member probably 3 or 4 years before before he retired and I took over. And the thing you learn in coaching, you learn how to make decisions. You know, there may be different decisions, but you learn to be a decision maker and have to be a decision maker, not afraid to make decisions. I always felt that being a former coach and being able to relate to your coaches, the 23 coaches that I have, I might have an advantage over athletic directors. I can get some that can handle finances, and I can get people to do some other things, but the business part of it. But I can manage people. I can manage the coaches. I can support the coaches, and I guess I'm a good decision maker because you make enough decisions in this business. If you don't make enough good ones, you're not around long enough. So I just felt very confident. I knew the business, I knew the league, and I felt confident in it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Barry, Chancellor Blank said that we'll know more tomorrow about the national search, but why is Chris McIntosh the right person for that job? Can you talk about that? Will you campaign for him? How does that part play?
Mike, I'm reluctant to talk about Mac. You know, a number of my deputies and former senior staff have gone on to and become athletic directors. Even one is a commissioner now. But Chris McIntosh is a player here. He loves Wisconsin. He understands it. It means something to him. Very bright, and he's been outstanding. And I've given him a lot of responsibility. He spearheaded many of the things that we did in managing staff and how we managed everything throughout COVID. I'm going to be reluctant to beat the bandwagon. People know how I feel about Mac. I feel like my responsibility somewhat was to have someone prepared. He'll go through the process. I know the committee. I know Pete Miller is going to be the chair of the committee. I have a lot of confidence in Pete. And they'll have a process they go through, and I'm sure Mac will do a very good job in the process.
Mark.
That said, Barry, for whoever is the next AD, I guess I'm just wondering what advice would you give that person going into this job, knowing the job as you do?
I would say learn Wisconsin, understand the state, understand this university and the idiosyncrasies of this university and the politics of both the state and the university. Realize there's a way to get it done. There are no shortcuts. We've done it here for a long time by doing it the right way. There's a current culture here that's a proven culture. I know whoever comes in has to put their own fingerprints on the job. I wouldn't tell them how to do the job. I'd be there to support and give advice anytime they wanted it. But, as a wise man once said, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
In the back.
Barry, I know you have a lot of them over here. Stephanie Sutton, WISN. I know you have a lot of moments, but what moment stands out for you most as a football coach, and what moment stands out for you most as athletic director here at Wisconsin?
Winning that first Rose, there's nothing like the first Rose Bowl. I love the Rose Bowl. I'd coached 2 of them before I came here when I was at Iowa. I said then, the first time we went out there, our team was overwhelmed just when you took the field. And there are certain ways you go about your business, and that'll be hard to beat. Although going to Tokyo to win a game to clinch that was right there with it. That was pretty special. As far as athletic director, anytime one of my teams win a championship, just to be able to celebrate, see them celebrate, is a highlight for me.
Back.
Very straight back. George Black, you with NBC 15.
Straight back.
Okay.
When you first took this job, you described it as all you had to sell to the players, the football players, was blue skies. And when you stepped down as head coach, you take over as AD, you said you saw Wisconsin as a sleeping giant. Now, 32 years later, how do you describe Wisconsin?
I describe Wisconsin as one of the best athletic programs in the country, one of the most consistent athletic programs in the country, one that a lot of people where a lot of people would like to be. A number of coaches that have come through here, and I hear it time and time again. The best job I ever had was at the University of Wisconsin, and I believe that.
Todd.
Barry, how has this job changed you over 31 years, or this place changed you as a person, and why?
I don't know if it's changed me. I've always been a pretty confident person, had ideas of how I wanted to do things. And so I guess the thing about the athletic director's job that you have to understand, there are so many layers in it, so many things that you have to have your fingers on. You have to lean on a lot of people to stay on top of all the things that are going on. And there are so many areas that you could disappoint people or upset people, whether it be tickets, parking, it goes on and on. You lose a tough game, fundraising. There are just a lot of things, decisions on building. So there are just many layers that you don't think about until you're in the middle of the job.
Go, Jim.
Barry, you've been in the spotlight here for 3+ decades, and I think it's safe to say you've enjoyed that. Are you, any part of you, going to miss that, or are you kind of looking forward to just, being out of it?
I read a quote by my wife. She said, "I like to be important." Everybody likes to have an audience. Well, maybe everybody doesn't. I do. I'm going to miss, I'm going to miss being around the people. That's what I miss most when I left coaching. You lose the closeness and the relationships you had with the players and your assistant coach. Now I have more relationships with my assistants, with the staff. But you don't have the close relationship as an administrator with the student athletes as you do working day to day with them, hand to hand, meeting with them, having them to your house, and everything else as you do with the coach. I really miss that. I'll be in, I will miss being in the middle of the fray. I'll miss that, but I've already had people call me that they want me to consult with them and help. So I'll keep my finger in the pot.
Barry, when you look over to your left and you see sort of the symbols of all the success and everything that's happened over the last 3 decades, what are some of the emotions that come to mind as you're looking at those?
It's very satisfying. So I think Mark Johnson might be the only head coach that I didn't hire in this staff, and to see what they were able to accomplish, what our student athletes were able to accomplish by doing it the right way, and I know that the coaches that are here care about the kids first, and that's always been the most important thing for me. So to see that much success, it just makes me feel proud. I just want to bust my buttons. I'm so proud of what my people have accomplished.
Tom.
Tom on State Journal.
Hey, Oaksy.
Hey, Barry.
I remember you, Oaksy.
When you came here, you were really bold and aggressive. I think we know now that's a big part of your personality, but did you feel this place needed leadership and needed that kind of aggressive, bold approach to push it to a different level?
You know what, Tom? I didn't look at it that way. I really had I worked with a guy named Chuck Heater. If you remember, Chuck was on Dave McClain's staff here. He was my secondary coach at Notre Dame. He really prepared me for what was lacking in this job. The number one thing was a relationship with the high school coaches and being able to keep those the players here. So I really had a good plan. And as a coach, you have to have confidence, and particularly if you're going to turn a program around, you have to have confidence, and sooner or later you better back it up, but I just always had that confidence. I really never thought of, is that something I have to do to get the program turned or to win? But I know this, as a leader, you better show confidence to all those that they're working for you and all those that are playing for you. If you're not confident, no one's confident. And so it has to start from there. I can remember, I don't know if I've told this story, I've probably put it in my book, Lukey. I can remember that first year, we'd lose those games. I'm getting ready, I'd go in and watch the films. Now on Monday, I'd have to go in and meet with the assistant coaches, then the head coach, or then the team, and I'd have to walk in, I'd have to be confident. But before I'd walk in there, I'd curl up in my office in a fetal position, aching. I was hurting so bad, but I couldn't let anybody see that. So I just think that's part of leadership, is showing strength.
Mark.
Barry, you were pretty, given the circumstance, you were pretty composed up there, except maybe that toward the end, I sensed maybe a faint, you were kind of maybe breaking a little bit. But can you just speak a little bit to the emotions of the day and how challenging maybe was it, if at all, for you to kind of keep your composure while you're up there kind of saluting people and thanking everyone for your, things over your career?
You know what, Mark, I watched Coach Williams' speech the other day in his retirement and him breaking down. I decided I wanted to tell some stories, try to make it fun, honor some of the people that made this a good trip for me. There'll be plenty of time for me to get emotional, but today I just wanted to have some fun and share some of those stories and tell people how much I appreciated them.
Dennis.
Coach Dennis Crosby, Spectrum News 1. Different skill sets, coach and AD, and you were successful at both. How were they different?
The main thing, as I said earlier, you have many more layers in the AD's job. You're managing people. You're not judged week to week as you are as a coach, wins and losses. It's an accumulation of things, but you have so many things that you're responsible for. You're responsible for every team. You're responsible for tickets. You're responsible for fundraising, building, academics, compliance, et cetera, et cetera. There are just so many layers and so many things you have to keep your fingers on. But in the end, it's still about dealing with people and making decisions. It's a little different. And I've told athletic directors this. You think you have stress. You think your job is tough. An athletic director's job is very difficult. But guys, it doesn't even come close to comparing to the stress and pressure that a head coach has. It doesn't come close to that pressure. I don't know if guys want to hear it or not, but I've been in both shoes, and I know which one is more stressful. So they're both difficult jobs. They're different jobs, but in the end, they're about managing people.
Todd.
Barry, college athletics is in a position of big change. There's been a lot of changes over the last 30 years. What of all of that has happened in the past and maybe that's coming in the future gives you pause in terms of what you want to see compared to what's happening or what might happen? Is that any part of your decision to walk away now, is to maybe not be a part of things that are coming down the road?
No, and I'm not afraid of change. I can remember going in when Gary Anderson left. And I remember walking in front of the team, and the thing I told him about him leaving. And I said, everybody is nervous about change. Embrace change. You're going to have to live with change the rest of your lives. Embrace it, but trust me, I'm going to hire you a good coach. We're going to have a good bowl experience. But embrace change and use this as a life lesson. I am concerned about the future of college athletics. I think some of the decisions that are going to be made on NIL, transfers, some of the lawsuits that are coming out could really affect the future and college athletics as we see it. But if I wasn't ready to retire, I'd be ready to attack it. I'd be ready to, whatever they gave me, I'd make the best of it. I'd figure out a way for it to be an advantage. That's just the way I operate.
In the back.
Barry, if I would have told you after you won a state championship game in Mason City that you'd have all the success that you've had here, what would you say?
I know. I'm serious. I can remember one of my players telling me, Coach, it won't be long. You'll be a head coach in college someplace. I said, I know.
Stephanie.
I tell you what, that game, winning that state championship in Mason City, Iowa, was still as great a thrill as winning the Rose Bowl, believe me, or winning the national championship. It's still about kids producing and doing something that people didn't think you could do.
Barry, what is your message to Wisconsin fans as you leave the university, and how do you want them to remember you most?
I'd like for him to remember me as the guy that backed up what he promised. And I also want to thank him. I love Wisconsin. I love the fans. They've been great to me. I've had some unbelievable experiences. I can't go any place. I can remember walking into a hotel lobby in London, Cindy and I, and there was a guy playing the piano. He started playing on Wisconsin. Being in the middle of Aruba, and somebody talking to me about the Rose Bowl, and I said, "Are you from Wisconsin?" He said, "No, I'm from here." I said, "How do you know me?" He said, "We only get 4 channels, and ESPN's one of them." Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin gave me a great opportunity, great vehicle. The people in this state have been great to me. The university, people at the university have been wonderful. Cindy and I and our family have been able to do what we wanted to do. We wanted to put roots down and call a place home. We've done that here. And I appreciate everything all of them have done and the support that they've given me. I love this place.
Anybody else?
Yep, one in the back.
I'm scared to have this question come up here.
Oh, no. From the Grafton Epitaph.
You can turn the cameras off. I'm Ted Kellner from the Grafton Press-Gazette. Now, that's a joke. I want to tell you how much fun this guy is. And he mentioned Rick Coleman and Tony Canoni and myself. Barry's got a nickname for everybody. I'm Tedro, Rick Coleman's Gordo. We played Stanford. He was the coach. He took us to the press conference out in L.A., and it was much like this, and we were sitting around and sitting in the back. Who was the coach? Shaw? Shaw. So it's kind of quiet. I'm sitting in the back. Barry and Gordo and Tony are standing behind the cameras here. They're standing there listening to Shaw, and kind of quiet like this. Nobody raises their hand. I'm in the back row. I raised my hand. I come up and I said, "You or you?" I said, "I'm Ted Kellner from the Press-Gazette, Grafton, Wisconsin." Nobody knows who that is. And I said, "Coach Shaw, this man has won 3 Rose Bowls. He is undefeated. Nobody has ever done that. You're preparing for this game. Have you gone back and looked at the films from his 3 Rose Bowls, 94, 99, and 2000? And Shaw goes, "Well, that's not a bad idea." Barry's back there. He said, "God damn it, that's Tedro asking that question. That's a great question." But I want to tell you, and he said, I came back from Florida today. I was here when Barry came in 1990, and those trophies and what he's done, you guys are in the press corps, you know it, but the lives he's impacted and the character that he's built, but also the fun that he has. I don't know if any of you can have an appreciation for people like myself and all the Wisconsin fans, how great a ride it's been. And I will tell you, this guy's a lot of fun, and I'm not talking about that. We have a lot of fun. Barry, he is the best. So I wanted to tell that little story. I'm going back to the Press-Gazette and Grafton and writing the story.
You know what? We tease each other unmercifully, and we've had the opportunity to introduce one another at different functions. Ted has, I had the fortune to intercept a pass here when I played, and Ted uses that as the introduction. And so we pimp each other any chance we have the opportunity. So Ted went into the Hall of Fame last year, and I called him to congratulate. Actually, we were going on our golf trip, and I said, "Got good news. You were just nominated and elected into the UW Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame." "Really?" I said, "That's a great honor." I said, "And you're 1 vote away from being unanimous." He says, "No kidding. Who didn't vote for me?" I said, "Your coach."
We good?
All right. Thanks,
okay,
guys.
Thank you, everybody.
So many answers to reflect on. One of them, I think, very telling. How have you changed over the 18 years? And he told me, how have I changed? I haven't. I'm no different. seems to be working for him. The success he had at Wisconsin was incredible. He said the moment that made him smile, perhaps, was bringing Paul Chryst back, meaning he feels good about the direction of the football team and athletics in general. What an amazing career Barry Alvarez had in Madison. It is now done as he is retiring. I'm Mike Hall. Thanks for watching.